Hey everyone. Okay, so there's two major things to talk about right from the jump of this episode. First, obviously, as we were shown through the preview, we get our first look at Egghead Island. And while we don't get a full view of it just yet, you can already tell from the preview that the art team involved in Egghead are gonna go absolutely buck ass wild with the color scheme in this arc. Like they're just gonna go full on like rainbow, absolute color extravaganza. But also, let's talk about the other thing, which is after Luffy and Bonnie get separated from the rest of the crew, the one still on board the Sunny gets saved by a giant robot, and the one piloting the robot they get introduced to a young woman piloting the robot, seemingly calling herself the one and only, the elusive Dr. Vegapunk. And okay, as a manga reader, I saw this right from the jump. It's true, but also not. The thing is, if you look at the breast of her, of the woman's uniform, she carries a designation Punk 2. So it's clear she's actually like another one of Vegapunk's, not the actual Vegapunk, but one of Vegapunk's experiments. But without giving it away, it's not exactly a cloning situation either. It's a little more intriguing of what's done with who this woman is. Now, I'm gonna save the rest of the reveal of who she is for later, but the other big giveaway is that unfortunately, this is one of those times where the opening of this new arc does kind of ruin the magic of the Vegapunk reveal, because you've basically already seen who Vegapunk is in the opening. But to give you an idea of who he is, if you still haven't figured it out, or you're an anime only who skipped the opening entirely, then keep this in mind. Oda has a penchant of making all the key important characters that he set up in the world of One Piece look complete weirdos and give them the most absolute ridiculous designs on the planet. And this girl is not ridiculous enough to be Vegapunk. Let's just leave it at that. But okay. With that said, though, the episode also introduces us to a whole bunch of new marine characters. And obviously, with Helmeppo being part of that introduction, a large part of this section is basically setting up the Kobe rescue operation. But I do want to also zero in on a couple characters to talk about here. The first and most obvious one is Prince Gus, a Navy HQ Rear Admiral from G14. And the reason I'm focusing on him first is that while this hasn't necessarily been confirmed just yet, there are as you go further along in this story with Gus and everything that's covered with him, you'll find that there are some pretty heavy leanings towards the idea that Prince Gus is actually a prince of the bourgeois kingdom. And for those who have forgotten the name, it's the place where Cavendish hails from as well. Again, not confirmed, but heavily alluding to the fact that there is a connection there between Prince Gus and Cavendish, both being princes of that kingdom. Now, the other character I also want to talk about is Hibari, a Navy HQ commander and another member of SWORD. And one thing that immediately sticks out about her, and something I overlooked when reading the manga, is supposedly she has the same verbal speech pattern as Sakazuki or Akainu, whichever you want to go with, which is supposed to be a Hiroshima dialect. And again, much like with the Prince Gus connection, nothing's been confirmed, but most people who I've seen talk about Hibari seem to think there's possibly some familial connection there. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, because nothing Oda does is coincidental, or he doesn't do anything without purpose. The question is what that connection is, though. What that connection is begs an entirely new question, because if Hibari is possibly Sakazuki's daughter, then who'd he fuck? Seriously, which woman in their right mind would ever fall so far in love with the man enough to have sex with him? Again, that's assuming Hibari's even his daughter, but again, if that's the case, I gotta meet the wife. I gotta see the woman who fell in love with Sakazuki, because I'm sorry, again, maybe it's just by the fact that we haven't seen anything about the man, we don't know anything about the man, but it's like, I have so many questions. So many things I have a hard time believing with the man. Like, again, if that is Hibari, if Hibari is even his daughter, but it's like, yeah, like, I will say this, it's definitely something that's got me intrigued even more intrigued to kind of at least see a bit of his backstory and what his family life was like, I guess. I don't know. Now, let's talk about Bonnie, because right out of the gate, upon like surviving the whole thing of being thrust back into the water and being saved by Jinbei, she asks about Luffy's wanted poster and about how his hair, his clothes, it's all white. And oh dear God, knowing the reveals that are to come, that's quite the loaded question. Like, I'm not joking. If you're going into Egghead expecting the usual setup arc formula with One Piece, you'll get that and so much more. Like, I know it's kind of a cliche to say at this point, but Oda really did use Egghead as the proving ground to show just how much story he can squeeze out of a singular character. And also, just how much more there was to tell. Like, it's hard to go into detail, but it's one of those things where Oda takes the concept of something we had seen on the surface in the story that wasn't, and says to us, yeah, even that moment in time, even what you saw happened with this character, even that wasn't the full story. And he takes that idea to leaps and bounds beyond where you thought it would go. Like, I'm probably hyping up and overselling what's to come too much, but there is a lot of twists and turns to come just from Bonnie asking that one question about Luffy's bounty. There's a lot to come, and somehow Oda managed to connect it all within this one arc. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, how does the man do this? Like, does he have like a million? Like, I know Oda said that he has the beginning and the end figured out, and everything in the middle is him winging it. But seriously, I need to see the man's workstation pronto, because you can. I've always had this theory that even if the man doesn't have everything in the middle planned out, I still very much believe that he has some fucking that his office workspace is like littered with little story notes to keep track of everything. Either that, or the man just has a fucking photographic memory like that rivals everyone in the world. But but okay. Final thing I do want to talk about, though, is the animation, because even though this was definitely one of the episodes that didn't require a lot of attention in that department, it is in the small moments where I am seeing the animation really coming alive in this arc already. Like, just in how Luffy's rubbery body contorted and shifted in this episode was kind of fucking amazing. And I think the limited line work and simpler design philosophy has kind of helped in this regard. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, push the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.